The Black Holocaust. Prologue, Martyrs of Valor, Shadows of Betrayal, and the FBI's Hidden Hand. Before the shadow of mass incarceration engulfed African American communities, a fierce struggle for freedom blazed, only to be extinguished, exploited, and twisted by forces both overt and covert. Between 1959 and 1975, the United States was a crucible of civil rights, forged by sacrifice and defiance. In Nashville, 1960, Diane Nash, a Fisk University student with unyielding resolve, led sit-ins at segregated lunch counters, enduring arrests to prove nonviolence could triumph. Her strategic brilliance later sustained the Freedom Rides. James Farmer, founder of CORE and a philosophical giant, orchestrated the 1961 Freedom Rides, facing firebombs and beatings to end interstate travel segregation, compelling federal action despite jail stints in Mississippi's Parchman Farm. In Birmingham, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr., the SCLC's moral compass with a doctorate in theology, penned a letter from Birmingham jail after his arrest. His 29 imprisonments a testament to his unbowed spirit. Fred Shuttlesworth, a fiery Birmingham pastor bombed and beaten yet undeterred, co-led the campaign, their blood securing the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Selma Marches of 1965 saw John Lewis, a 25-year-old SNCC Titan beaten unconscious on Bloody Sunday, and Hosea Williams, an SCLC strategist and war veteran, march resolutely, their courage birthing the Voting Rights Act. The March on Washington, 1963, orchestrated by Philip Randolph, a labor titan who threatened FDR with a 1941 march, and Bayard Rustin, a gay pacifist genius navigating McCarthy-era smears, proclaimed equality's dream, while Ralph Abernathy, King's steadfast deputy jailed 19 times, anchored the SCLC's backbone. Yet, these victories were marred by unrelenting tragedy. The 1963 bombing of Birmingham's 16th Street Baptist Church, claiming 4 girls, exposed segregation's venom. King's 1968 assassination unleashed chaos, even as the Fair Housing Act rose from his ashes. These leaders, King, Abernathy, Lewis, filled jails with their bodies, their courage a beacon and a prelude to a grimmer fate. Among the brightest lights were those cut down, their legacies revered, their deaths shrouded in doubt. Fred Hampton, born 1948, a visionary Panther leader with a pre-law mind, built breakfast programs and a rainbow coalition uniting Chicago's disenfranchised until his 1969 execution at 21 by Chicago police, an FBI-orchestrated raid. Who truly pulled the strings? And why extinguish a unifier who bridged races? Malcolm X, born 1925, rose from a 6.5-year prison term to champion black dignity via the NOI, then the OAAU post-Mecca, only to fall in 1965 at 39 to NOI bullets, or hidden hands guiding the rifles, fearing his global reach and evolving unity. David Barksdale, born 1947, forged the Black Disciples with dreams of unity, marching with King in 1966 before dying in 1974 at 27 from a rival shot. Was it mere gang war, or a calculated strike by unseen foes to fracture his vision? Huey Newton, born 1942, co-founded the Panthers with a PhD-level intellect, crafting survival programs until slain in 1989 at 47 in a murky drug clash. Who engineered his downfall, and what threat did his revolutionary mind pose? These martyrs, felled by violence cloaked in mystery, left voids that beg answers. Who feared their power, and to what end? Then there are those who persist: Bobby Seale, Larry Hoover, Jeff Fort, and the new Black Panther Party, NBPP, for instance, their shadows looming differently, their roles whispering of potential betrayal or misdirection. Seale, born 1936, a Merritt College radical, co-founded the Panthers with Newton, leading armed Sacramento protests, yet stepped away by 1974, now 88, as the movement crumbled. Was his retreat a planted seed of division, paving chaos's path? Hoover, born 1950, a street-hardened tactician, turned the gangster disciples into a drug-fueled leviathan, locked away for life at 74 after a 1973 murder conviction. Did his empire offer the state a convenient excuse to cage a generation? Fort, born 1947, a charismatic gang lord, morphed the Black P Stones into a criminal cult, confined at 78 after a 1987 Libyan terror plot. Was his descent a scripted unraveling to justify a broader clampdown? The NBPP, born 1989 in Dallas under Aaron Michaels, sought to shield black enclaves from drugs and neglect, a misunderstood echo of Panther grit, yet its voice, inflamed by Khalid Abdul Muhammad's and Malik Zulu Shabaz's anti-white, anti-Semitic cries, killed every Zionist, for example, veered into rhetoric that alienated allies. Persisting in 2025 under Crystal Muhammad, its passion, perhaps stoked by destabilizing agents mirroring COINTELPRO's playbook, ensured rejection by the broader struggle SEAL once led. Did unseen hands guide this misstep to fracture black unity anew? The FBI's hand casts a long shadow, its machinations sowing discord, abetted by the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. Under J. Edgar Hoover, COINTELPRO, 1956 to 1971, targeted black leaders to neutralize them. King wiretapped, smeared with a suicide note. Hampton slaying via informant O'Neill. Newton hounded with legal traps. Disinformation fractured SCLC and SNCC, while Panther chapters bled from planted strife. As civil rights faded, the FBI turned to gang wars. Barksdale's disciples, Hoover's gangster disciples, Fort Stones, labeled hate groups, yet informants stoked rivalries, like the 1970 Stones attack on Barksdale. The 1980s crack flood, tied to CIA Contra funding, went unchecked, targeting users over suppliers, priming black youth as threats, perhaps priming the NBPP's later rage. ALEC, founded in 1973 by Paul Weyrich and backed by Koch dollars, wove a legislative net to fill private prisons like CCA's. It's tough on crime bills, mandatory minimums, 1980s, three strikes laws, 1990s, truth in sentencing, 1996, 85% sentence mandates, exploded incarceration, with black men half the burden by the 1990s. ALEC's 1995 Prison Industries Act turned inmates into labor for profit, while its 2010 SB 1070 fueled CCA's detention boom. With over 2,000 lawmakers and $10 million yearly, ALEC's model laws swelled prison populations from 300 to 29,821 in 1980 to 2.1 million by 2000, entwining corporate gain with racial control. ALEC exposed, 2011. Did the FBI and ALEC collude or converge to destabilize black power, setting a stage where even the NBPP's cries drowned in rejection? These years toppled legal apartheid and amplified black voices, but COINTELPRO's war and ALEC's laws, abetted by SEAL, Hoover, Fort, and the NBPP's misguided roar, cast a troubling silhouette. Were they unwitting tools or deliberate agents, sowing disorder to birth the calamity ahead? The Black Holocaust. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the United States witnessed a phenomenon that some have termed a Black Holocaust, a devastating, systemic uprooting of African American lives through mass incarceration. The term Holocaust, from the Greek holocauston meaning holy burnt, originally denoted a sacrificial offering consumed by fire, first appearing in English in the 13th century in religious texts. It gained modern prominence in the 1940s, most famously applied to the Nazi genocide of 6 million Jews during World War II, a usage solidified by Raoul Hilberg's 1961 The Destruction of the European Jews and the 1978 miniseries Holocaust. Here, it parallels that scale and intent, not through gas chambers, but through prisons and graves, a calamity fueled by policy, prejudice, and power, perhaps as retaliation for black freedom post-slavery, masked by a society distracted by global conflicts. Between 1980 and 2010, millions of black men, particularly those aged 35 to 54, were ensnared in the nation's prisons, their families fractured and communities hollowed out. In 1980, the prison population stood at 329,821, modest by later standards. By 2010, it surged to over 1.6 million in state and federal prisons, with African American men often half the total, a disproportionate toll driven by ALEC's mandatory minimums, three strikes laws, and a war on drugs targeting black neighborhoods with ruthless precision. For middle-aged black men, estimates suggest 2.4 to 4.5 million incarceration events over those 31 years, dwarfing cities like Chicago or Houston, reflecting admissions and reincarcerations as recidivism deepened the crisis. Death shadowed this captivity. Bureau of Justice Statistics data, patchy pre-2000, shows 8,651 state prison deaths from 2001 to 2010, with African Americans likely comprising 3,460 to 4,325, succumbing to illness, suicide, homicide, and overdoses at higher violent rates. Estimating from 1980s and 1990s rates, black deaths range from 4,800 to 6,400, 1980 to 1990, and 7,200 to 9,000, 1991 to 2000, totaling 15,460 to 19,725 in state prisons, with jails like Rikers potentially pushing the toll to 25,000 or more, lost to neglect by CMS and CCA's cost-cutting, their graves a silent indictment. This was a social cataclysm. Breadwinners vanished, fathers faded, communities crumbled, lives snuffed out behind bars. Economic despair eroded trust, and trauma echoed historical atrocities, earning the Holocaust label from scholars like Michelle Alexander. ALEC's punitive laws and policing, crack sentences 100 times harsher than powder, targeted black men for petty crimes, while whiter offenders walked free. A generation diminished, not by war or plague, but by a justice system deeming blackness criminal, its dead piling silently, unnoticed by a distracted nation. The Black Holocaust may have been retaliation for African Americans' pursuit of freedom and equality after slavery's end. Emancipation freed 4 million, sparking Reconstruction's gains, black voting, land ownership, leaders like Hiram Revels. White backlash birthed Jim Crow by 1877, lynchings that resulted in over 4,000 documented deaths, and sharecropping that re-enslaved many. The Civil Rights Movement toppled legal segregation, Brown versus Board, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, with black voter registration hitting 55.8% in the South by 1980. This ascent threatened white dominance, prompting a counterstrike. Nixon's war on drugs, escalated by Reagan, flooded black cities with crack, CIA-linked per Gary Webb's 1996 Dark Alliance, while ALEC's laws and CCA's prisons reaped profits as little as nearly $2 billion. Was this mass caging and killing, 15,000 to 25,000 dead, a deliberate reprisal to crush black progress, a modern shackle for daring to rise? Society's focus drifted, enabling this to unfold in plain view yet unnoticed. The Vietnam War, 58,000 dead, 12.6% black troops, 40% of Project 100,000's poor draftees, shifted attention to anti-war protests as King's 1967 opposition faded. The Cold War cloaked COINTELPRO and ALEC's rise in anti-communist fervor, nuclear fears drowning out civil rights. The War on Terror, post 9/11, consumed $6 trillion by 2010, fixating media on Baghdad over Baltimore as black incarceration peaked. These conflicts, Vietnam's division, Cold War's paranoia, terror's obsession, sapped civil rights momentum, letting the Black Holocaust metastasize under national security, its deaths and despair fading into noise. Unlike swift holocausts, this unfolded gradually, masked as law and order, a slow bleed, normalized over decades, its victims hidden behind bars. Critics may decry the term's weight, but for those impacted, the loss, millions incarcerated, tens of thousands perished, felt genocidal, a silent slaughter born of vengeance and enabled by a nation looking away.
Who let Richards in the broadcasting booth? He is gonna ruin the reputation of WKR, and it took nearly 40 years for us to rebuild this far. Where is security? Isaac, this blatant insubordination will not look well on your quarterly review. This is not good. Oh man. I am gonna get so very fired over this.
Can't you see? I was one of the chosen, touched, gifted, blessed, and even now I am still an African American man. Even now, my kind is hailed as the anti-heroes of the modern era. Someone has to reveal the truth, and I have been found and guided towards doing just that.
This isn't the truth! This is nationalist propaganda for a non-existent nation. Whether you're black or white,
You still
American.
don't see it, yet how could you not? The conditioning, the ignored injustice, the re-educating, all hidden away from scrutiny. Well, I see it, and he showed me, and now for the future of us all, I must speak. I must act. The signal has never lied to me before. I will not waver in my trust. I will do what I was entrusted to do. Presidential roles, 1975 to 2025. From 1975 to 2025, presidents shaped this calamity through various actions and inaction. Gerald Ford, 1974 to 1977, Nixon's pardon signaled impunity for the counterintelligence program, leaving Alex laws unchecked as gangs rose. Jimmy Carter, 1977 to 1981, his 1978 drug law hinted at enforcement, diluted by treatment focus as Alec gained ground. Ronald Reagan, 1981 to 1989, his 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, with Alec's minimums, tripled prisons, slashing black safety nets. George H.W. Bush, 1989 to 1993, the 1988 Crime Control Act and Willie Horton ad fueled Alec's sentencing surge. Bill Clinton, 1993 to 2001, the 1994 crime bill Alec inspired, poured $9.7 billion into prisons, ravaging black families. George W. Bush, 2001 to 2009, upheld drug policies, Alec's labor laws profited off inmates. Barack Obama, 2009 to 2017, eased crack disparities, 2010, commuted 1,715 sentences, but Alex Webb held firm. Donald Trump, 2017 to 2021, 2025, present, revived Law and Order, 2025's Project 2025, Alec tinged, ICCA expansion. Joe Biden, 2021 to 2025, pushed post-Floyd reform, but left Alec's legacy intact. The Black Holocaust's lasting echoes in 2025. As of February 28, 2025, the Black Holocaust's imprint on the United States remains profound, its scars etched in economic ruin, social distrust, and a relentless toll of police brutality that both mirrors and extends the incarceration crisis of 1980 to 2010. Economically, the loss of 2.4 to 4.5 million contributors, middle-aged black men torn from families, has entrenched intergenerational poverty, slashing black median household net worth to $24,100 in 2019, a fraction of the $188,200 for white households, a gap widened by decades of absent wages and broken homes. Federal Reserve, 2020. Socially, trust in institutions lies shattered. 2025 polls reveal only 19% of black Americans trust police, a legacy of profiling, sentencing disparities, and a litany of brutal deaths that defied justice. Gallup, 2025. Politically, the 2013 gutting of the Voting Rights Act, Shelby County versus Holder, and felony disenfranchisement laws mute black electoral power. A wound Trump's 2025 policing surge threatens to deepen with expanded CCA beds and racialized crackdowns. Sentencing Project, 2023. This Holocaust's human cost reverberates through lives lost to police violence since 2012, and each is a testament to systemic failure. Trayvon Martin, February 26, 2012. A 17-year-old from Miami Gardens, Florida, Trayvon was a vibrant high school junior at Dr. Michael M. Crop High. Dreaming of an aviation career, his uncle Ronald was a pilot and excelling in football and math. Known for his infectious smile, He lived with his mother Sabrina Fulton, a county worker, and was visiting his father Tracy in Sanford when George Zimmerman, a 28-year-old neighborhood watch volunteer with a history of violence, prior assault charges, shot him dead while Trayvon walked home with Skittles and iced tea. Sanford Police Chief Bill Lee claimed insufficient evidence, releasing Zimmerman that night. Internal reviews stalled until public outrage forced action. Zimmerman's 2013 acquittal birthed Black Lives Matter, BLM, igniting a movement against racial vigilantism. Eric Garner, July 17, 2014. A 43-year-old Staten Island father of 6, Eric was a former horticulturist at the New York Parks Department, known for his gentle demeanor despite asthma and diabetes. A towering man at 6 feet 3 inches, he sold loose cigarettes to support his family with wife Esau. Officer Daniel Pontalio, a 29-year-old NYPD veteran with prior misconduct complaints, applied a banned chokehold as Garner pleaded "I can't breathe" 11 times, dying on the sidewalk. Chief Philip Banks III oversaw an internal affairs probe that cleared Pontalio. No charges followed, though a $5.9 million settlement eased family grief amid protests. Michael Brown, August 9, 2014. An 18-year-old from Ferguson, Missouri, Michael, nicknamed Big Mike, had just graduated Normandy High, planning to study engineering at Vadite College. A 6 feet 4 inches gentle giant, he loved rap and video games, living with his mother Leslie McSpadden. Officer Darren Wilson, 28, a 6-year Ferguson PD member with no prior discipline, shot him 6 times after a convenience store dispute. Chief Thomas Jackson's initial defense of Wilson crumbled under DOJ scrutiny revealing racial bias. Wilson's non-indictment sparked riots, exposing predatory policing. Tamir Rice, November 22, 2014. A 12-year-old from Cleveland, Ohio, Tamir was a bright middle schooler at Marion Seltzer Elementary, excelling in basketball and art, often sketching at home with his mother Samaria. Officer Timothy Lohman, 26, a rookie fired from a prior job for emotional instability, shot him within 2 seconds of arriving at a park where Tamir held a toy gun. Chief Calvin Williams' internal review deemed it reasonable. No charges followed, though a $6 million settlement underscored the loss of black childhood. Freddie Gray, April 12, 2015. A 25-year-old from Baltimore, Maryland, Freddie was a charismatic handyman in Sandtown, Winchester, known for his humor and love of dice games, supporting his mother Gloria Darden despite lead poisoning from childhood. Arrested by 6 officers, Caesar Goodson Jr., Garrett Miller, Edward Nero, William Porter, Brian Rice, Alicia White, he died of spinal injuries after a rough ride in a van driven by Goodson, a 16-year veteran. Chief Anthony Batt's probe led to charges, but all were acquitted. Riots and a National Guard response ensued. Sandra Bland, July 10, 2015. A 28-year-old from Naperville, Illinois, Sandra had a Prairie View A&M degree and a passion for social justice, working at Cook County Jail before moving to Texas for a university job. Stopped by Trooper Brian Encinia, 30, with a history of aggressive stops, she was arrested after a confrontation, found hanged in jail 3 days later, ruled suicide, contested by family. Sheriff Glenn Smith oversaw a Texas Ranger probe. Encinia's indictment faded, fueling BLM's focus on black women. Alton Sterling, July 5, 2016. A 37-year-old Baton Rouge, Louisiana father of 5, Alton, dubbed CD Man, sold music outside Triple S Food Mart, a community fixture with a warm laugh despite a tough upbringing. Officers Blaine Salamone, 29, with a family police legacy, and Howie Lake II, 28, pinned and shot him after a 911 call. Chief Carl Dabney Jr.'s review found no fault. No charges followed, though a $4.5 million settlement met protests. Philando Castile, July 6, 2016. A 32-year-old from St. Paul, Minnesota, Philando was a beloved cafeteria supervisor at J.J. Hill Montessori, known for remembering 500 kids' names and dietary needs. Legally armed with a permit. Officer Geronimo Yanez, 28, a 4-year Falcon Heights PD veteran, shot him during a stop as girlfriend Diamond Reynolds live-streamed. Chief John Elder's investigation led to Yanez's acquittal. A $3 million settlement followed outrage. Breonna Taylor, March 13, 2020. A 26-year-old from Louisville, Kentucky, Breonna was an EMT-turned-ER technician at Norton Hospital, saving for a house with boyfriend Kenneth Walker, known for her infectious optimism. Plainclothes officers Jonathan Mattingly, 47, Brett Hankerson, 43, and Miles Cosgrove, 42, all with prior complaints, executed a no-knock warrant, killing her in bed. Chief Steve Conrad retired amid scrutiny. Hankerson faced minor charges, acquitted in 2022, sparking global protests and a warrant ban. George Floyd, May 25, 2020. A 46-year-old from Houston, Texas, George was a 6 feet 4 inches ex-basketball star and father, working security in Minneapolis, known as a gentle giant who mentored youth. Officer Derek Chauvin, 44, with 18 prior complaints, knelt on his neck for 9.5 minutes as officers Tu Tao, J. Alexander Quang, and Thomas Lane assisted. Chief Medaria Arredondo fired them. Chauvin's 2021 murder conviction, 22.5 years, was rare, while others got lighter terms, igniting global BLM marches. Rayshard Brooks, June 12, 2020. A 27-year-old Atlanta, Georgia, father of 4, Rayshard was a grill cook at Sizzling Platter, dreaming of entrepreneurship, known for his infectious energy. Officer Garrett Rolfe, 27, with prior shootings, killed him after Brooks grabbed a taser at a Wendy's. Chief Erica Shields resigned. Rolfe faced no prison. A $1 million settlement followed protests toppling statues. Jacob Blake, August 23, 2020. A 29-year-old from Evanston, Illinois, Jacob was a mechanic and father of 6 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, fixing cars and coaching kids' sports, a peacemaker by nature. Officer Rustin Chesky, 31, shot him 7 times in the back during a domestic call, paralyzing him. Chief Daniel Maskinis blamed Blake. No charges followed. Protests flared, with Kyle Rittenhouse's acquittal adding fuel. Tyre Nichols, January 7, 2023. A 29-year-old from Sacramento, California, Tyre was a FedEx worker and skateboarder in Memphis, Tennessee, capturing sunsets with his camera for his son, a quiet dreamer. Officers Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith, all black, with minor prior infractions, beat him savagely post-traffic stop. Chief Saralyn C.J. Davis fired them. Murder charges loom for 2025 trials, prompting reforms. Dexter Reed, March 21, 2024. A 26-year-old from Chicago, Illinois, Dexter was a junior college basketball star at Morton College, eyeing a coaching career, known for mentoring teens in Humboldt Park. 5 plainclothes officers, Hector Alfaro, Luis Huesca, Joseph Brooks, Ruben Torres, Sean Nealis, fired 96 rounds in 41 seconds over a seatbelt stop. Chief Larry Snelling's probe remains open, no charges yet, while a $1.5 million settlement offer stirs unrest as of February 28, 2025.
Who can prove any of that even happened? This fear-mongering isn't what our news and media outlet promotes. And I mean it, Richards. You'll be lucky to get out of that booth as a free
pity you,
man,
Wallace.
let alone a man with an
So
income
deluded,
after
even to
this
believing
time.
that I would want a job here anymore. So misguided, unable to see what I am doing here now. You've been brainwashed, indoctrinated even. And I am no exception. The shackles that bind us all are unseen, unheard, and unwavering. Racism is just one of the walls that separate us all into easily manageable livestock. Our lives, the active income and funds, our deaths, nothing more than passive income, all the while our suffering and struggling, simply alone. A debt to never be repaid. It's my turn now, but how long will it be until they come for you? Will you be blind until your ivory skin fails to protect you from the subtle differences between you and your neighbor? Please, Wallace, do not interrupt me again. I am almost done. These deaths, among many others, ignited Black Lives Matter, founded in 2013 by Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi after Trayvon's killing, peaking in 2020 with 15 million marchers. Pew Research, 2020. Colors, a queer artist with an MFA, led BLMGNF until her 2021 exit amid a $3.2 million property scandal, hinting at betrayal akin to Seal, Hoover, Fort, and perhaps the NBPP's misguidance. Blue Lives Matter, 2014, led by cops like NYC's Joseph Imperatrice, and All Lives Matter, 2014, embraced by 44% of whites. 2020 polls, Pew Research, 2020, reframed BLM's racial focus as divisive, stalling reforms, e.g., only 12 states ban chokeholds by 2025, National Conference of State Legislatures, 2025. Culturally, BLM's resilience shines, but gang scars linger. Project 2025 looms as a modern echo of the Black Holocaust's machinery, yet its threats extend beyond the obvious. Project 2025, a 900-page manifesto by the Heritage Foundation and Trump allies, seeks to dismantle civil rights gains, directly linking to the Black Holocaust's legacy of racial control. Heritage Foundation, 2025. It proposes eliminating the Department of Education, slashing Head Start, where 28% of enrollees are black, widening achievement gaps, Thurgood Marshall Institute, 2024. It aims to gut the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, weakening anti-discrimination enforcement, and end affirmative action, reversing gains in employment equity, where black unemployment remains double that of whites, 8% versus 4%, 2023, Bureau of Labor Statistics, 2023. Its push to repeal the Affordable Care Act and restrict Medicaid threatens black health outcomes, with 42% of abortion seekers black, facing a maternal mortality rate 3 times higher than white women, 40.8 versus 14.4 per 100,000, CDC, 2020, CDC, 2021. By overhauling the Census Bureau and criminalizing voting errors, it risks undercounting black communities, already undercounted by 3.5% in 2020, further diluting political power and resources. U.S. Census Bureau, 2021. This blueprint, if enacted under Trump's 2025 term, could resurrect the Black Holocaust's mechanisms, targeting black progress with surgical precision. Yet quieter threats lurk, less heralded but equally dire. The erosion of digital equity, Project 2025's cuts to broadband subsidies, could sever black access to education and jobs, with 22% of black households lacking high-speed internet versus 12% of white ones. Pew Research, 2023. Environmental racism, intensified by dismantling the Office of Environmental Justice, endangers black neighborhoods, where 56% live within 3 miles of toxic sites, facing asthma rates 50% higher than whites, 13.4% versus 8.9%. EPA, 2022. The rise of AI surveillance, unchecked by weakened federal oversight, risks amplifying racial profiling. Studies show facial recognition misidentifies black faces at rates up to 34% higher than white ones. NIST, 2019. These obscure perils, digital exclusion, polluted air, algorithmic bias, compound the Holocaust's legacy, threatening black survival in ways subtler than bars or bullets, but no less lethal. The nation teeters on a precipice, reckoning could heal, denial risks relapse. The Black Holocaust of 1980 to 2010, mirrored in 2012 through 2025's brutality and poised to deepen with Project 2025's designs, stands as systemic inequity's testament, a warning of past vengeance reborn. Beyond its overt rollback of rights, its shadow harbors insidious traps, severed connections, poisoned lungs, coded chains that could entrench black suffering anew. Healing demands more than release. It requires dismantling these structures, visible and veiled, a task unfinished as 2025 dawns, with the stakes higher than ever for African American survival and dignity.
Stop it! How do we know any of those sources are refutable? Who's gonna take your word or even look it up for themselves? The board of directors are gonna kill me. And they'll kill you too. Isaac, please.
Thank you all for tuning in. I apologize for my erratic speaking, but when I stumbled upon this story in our archives, within the to be decided section, I knew I had an eerie feeling all this time. WKR 13 has always felt like a home for me until this point. And I must have transparency in my home, even if I now realize it was only destined to be a temporary one. What I have shared with you today is only an abridged version. Please find the Black Holocaust, whether your research of the cited sources lead you to the document, or by pushing WKR to release what they have. I urge you to not let true history fade into obscurity. This is not the only document within their archives, and out of fear for my safety I dare not enter that place alone again. Once again, thank you for listening to the Black Holocaust. I've been your host, Isaac Richards, signing out.